It's the buzz of the biz, not what was, but what is. Not who did, but who does. It's biz buzz. Biz buzz. I'm Anthony. Muted.
Take two.
Thank you.
I'm muted, formerly known as Damon.
All right, we'll start over. Sure, I get a perfect take on that tongue twister there. So I
Hey,
That's the beauty of editing. We can just take the best one and
yeah.
piece it together.
Okay, here we go. It's the buzz of the biz, not what was, but what is. Not who did, but who does. It's biz buzz. Biz buzz. I'm Anthony.
I'm Damon.
I'm David.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Dr. Kurt's dad.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Jim.
Welcome to issue number 136 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club podcast. We have an action-packed episode for you today. We are going to jump into weekly reviews, which we're going to go all around the internet, talk about the books that we've been reading, both new and old, and then we're going to do a letters page later in the show, which the question will be, you have to recast your favorite show with comic book characters. Who would be who? So start thinking of your answers now. We'll cover that later into the episode. But first, we will start off with the weekly reviews. I will kick it off with the hardcover collection of Archie's pal, Kevin Keller. Read all about Kevin's introduction to the world of Riverdale. Journey into the mind and the heart of Riverdale's newest resident. You'll see how Kevin first met Archie, Jughead, Betty, and Veronica, how he came to love journalism, and what drives him to want to follow in the footsteps of his father, a retired Army colonel, and serve in the military. All right. Kevin Keller, he's a character that he is created by Dan Parent, who drew me up in this corner here. I'll probably say that every single episode now. Dan Parent created this character. He's the first openly gay character in Riverdale, and he was met with open arms as it became a best-selling comic. It sold out and went to reprints, which is something that typically doesn't happen in Archie comics, I think. I think it was one of those, there's some sort of record behind it where it was like the first like reprinted comic in decades or something like that. Kevin Keller, he's been a staple with the comics for quite a while now, the greater part of the last decade. He's adapted onto the Riverdale show as well. What this hardcover collection does, it shows his first appearance, which is a funny story in which, Veronica is basically pining over Kevin as he's the new boy in Riverdale, and she's kind of taken her attention off of Archie. Betty knows that Kevin is gay and keeps wanting to tell Veronica, because she keeps kind of bending over backwards to get his attention and flirting with him and everything. And Kevin's being a nice guy, and they're becoming close friends and stuff like that. But there's one reason why his secret is kept a little longer, because he is actually in a competition with Jughead as a competitive eater. So Jughead has finally met his match when they're sitting at Pop's and they're having a burger eating contest. And we find out that Kevin is quite the competitive eater, and Jughead is basically, he's the crown that rests on his head is basically being taken away. What's cool here is that Jughead wants to keep it a secret because Veronica is always the one that kind of picks on Jughead the most. So he's kind of using that as ammo to kind of get back at her. And but yeah, that's kind of what the whole first story is about. What's cool here, the other chapters in here, is dealing with Kevin Keller and the retirement and birthday party of his dad, who is an Army colonel. And it's a good story that kind of dips into right away into some backstory from when Kevin was younger. And you kind of see him, how he was coming out to his parents, and they kind of cover how that was accepted and how all the friends dealt with it at school and how he handled the bullying and all that kind of stuff. So they do that all in a pretty quick chapter sequence in one of these stories too. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. including some of the variant covers that were printed when these issues normally came out. So yeah, this hardcover collection, if you want to read up about Kevin, you saw him on the Riverdale TV show and you want to know more about him, it's all collected here in this awesome $20 hardcover. So yeah, that is Archie's pal, Kevin Keller. Next up.
I decided to dip into the Magnolia universe. A lot of people keep reading stuff in there. And has anyone ever read any Hellboy? Okay. I
Yes,
decided
I have.
to. Go ahead. Then I'm okay. I decided to give it a shot, and I picked up. They're pretty cheap. The first library edition of Hellboy, which contains basically the two trades. The first two trades: Seed of Destruction and Wake the Devil. And to be honest, I don't know what I read. The book is good. The art is good. If you've ever seen Magnolia, he's like the master of negative space. So there's like a lot of stuff in the background that's like solid colored. You get used to the art. I just had a hard time trying to follow the story. The first trade paperback, Seed of Destruction, was pretty straightforward. It reminded me a little bit of the movie, which was my only background with Hellboy, were the Hellboy movies. I could see a couple of things. It shows how Hellboy, the ritual that brought Hellboy into our universe, and the gods that were locked up that he was supposed to unlock but chose not to. The Nazis. So the first trade paperback was a little similar to the movie. It's when you got into the second one where it kind of got a little confusing. There was like some witch, which is more like a Gorgon, half woman, half snake, with the long snake tail, and her son was kind of like a vampire that she could keep bringing back. And yeah, I don't know. It was a little bit hard to follow. Maybe it was because I read this over a period of time. I didn't get to just sit down and read it all the way through. I don't know. Does anyone else read that trade that might know a little bit more?
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, any Hellboy I've read is basically anything out of order, just picking up miniseries and one-shots and stuff throughout the years. So I've never done the start from the beginning or anything like that.
Same here. Mine were just individual eyeball episodes.
Yeah, I'm trying to start from the beginning, and there's a whole website, that lists the whole Magnolia universe in reading order, and that's what I was going to try to do, because I know there's a lot of good stories. You got Hellboy, you got the BPRD.
Lobster Johnson.
Yep. Abe Sabian. They all have their own stories, but you got to start at the very beginning. And I still haven't decided if I'm in or not. I am picking up I do have the second volume, which contains the next two trade paperbacks. I'm trying to find a good picture of that one queen. And I'll just give it a shot. It could be just the one trade and how I read it over a period of time. And where's a good shot? That it might grow. Oh, this isn't really a good art, but this gives you an idea of like some of the fight scenes. Like, and that's the main witch. That's kind of like a Gorgon, like Medusa, half woman, half snake. And that's a good representation of how Magnolia's art is. He has just, the main characters, and then the background is kind of blank. But the art, it kind of grows on you. But I'm hoping it gets a little bit more like the movies. The action's pretty good. The story's pretty good. He's not as sarcastic as he is in the movies, I've noticed. Maybe that's because he's young and this was his first stories, and it might take a little bit to get for Mike Magnolia to get on his path. But overall, it was a interesting read. I don't know if I'm a huge fan, but if you're like me, these library editions are pretty good. It is really big. It's bigger than a regular library edition. So to give you an idea, here's just like a standard size
Ooh, nice.
copy, and you can see the difference in size. If I can line it up, it's hard.
Yeah, I like that. Looks pretty slick too with the cover design and everything.
Yeah, it's like a cloth binding, fingerprint catcher, but it was a fun read, not bad. I'll let you guys know how I like after the next volume if I'm in or not.
Cool. All right, David. Oh, hold on. His volume. Can we hear him?
I can't hear.
I fixed.
All right.
It's fixed. Okay.
Now, there's only room on this podcast for one person to do that, and that's already me.
I want to be like you. Before I get started on my my review here, I just want to take a second and thank everybody for yesterday. And I know Katie wasn't able to make it, which understandable under circumstances. But it was quite a surprise for those watching and wondering what the hell I'm talking about. So all of you and several others decided to throw sort of a surprise thank you party for Kurt and myself for playing our part in getting everybody together and getting everybody into all the fun trouble that we've gotten ourselves into. So it was really a surprise. It was great to see everybody for, as many together, even though it wasn't everybody. That's the most we've been together since this whole pandemic thing started. And so it was really nice to see everybody. It was a very pleasant surprise. Good food, good cake. I'll have to put up pictures of the Crimson Cowl cake.
Yeah, that cake was pretty good. Eric was the one that had organized the event and came to me about it, asking if if I wanted to help kind of assemble some people, but he did all the planning and everything. And that cake, he got that from Hankerson's Bakery. And I've been thinking about that
It's good
cake.
though.
Still
I've
got
been
some.
thinking about it.
I do have some.
Oh, I should. I know we had like a half a cake left, and you're always trying to like give it to people. Do you have a piece? I'll take one.
You want a piece?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Ooh.
Oh, that was slick.
Okay.
Thank you.
Actually, my regret is that I got cake and I got the other food. That was from Hankerson's, but Anthony did bring some cookies from Piggly Wiggly, and I didn't get one of the cookies. So that was my regret for the evening.
Well, I've got one right here. You want it?
Yeah, actually.
Okay, here you go.
Hand it on through. All right. Look at that. Right.
Yep.
No, I don't actually like this. Here.
Oh. Okay. Ugh.
Oh, this is a delight. I love it.
Wow. Thanks again, everybody. It was a great time.
Now back to the show.
Yeah. Good night following. Not as good night. Because the night before, we had to take my daughter down to the hospital. She was having some issues related to her hydrocephalus, and so we took her down. But they only let one parent in at a time, so I got to wait out in the parking lot, knowing this was a very good possibility. I came prepared. We were rushing, so I just walked in, grabbed a big stack of comics, and they all happened to be Spidey comics, and I went through and I got a lot of Spider-Man comics read. So the one storyline that I made it all the way through was the Revenge of the Sinister 6 storyline. This is from probably 91, 92. Yeah, 92. This was shortly after Eric Larson had taken over the book from Todd McFarlane. This was the Spider-Man title that was basically given to Todd McFarlane because he was such a popular artist and everything at the time, and they basically handed him this new Spider-Man book and said, hey, you get to write it, you get to draw it, all that stuff. Eric Larson had filled in like an issue or so just before taking it over permanently, and then he took it over. And they had this event planned, and so the first couple issues are a little weird though, because you get about 12 pages of the Sinister Six story here, where the Sinister Six is making their return, and then it's over, and then there's a backup story. It just seems really weird for something like that, you know. Actually, and I apologize. The first issue actually wasn't. I think it's about the second and third issue. There's two of them. What happened was, in the process of doing this, Eric Larson's house burnt down and he lost everything. So, in order to meet the deadlines, still work, get the story out and everything, they shortened it. They put what would have been part 2 out in 2 books, and then had this backup story that was as long as the regular story in there to kind of fill it out, to give him some time to collect some more art supplies, find a place to live, and to get back to work on it. So it's kind of an interesting story that went with the story. So this is really good representation of what some of the comics were in the 90s. You got a lot of guest appearances spread out in these books. Ghost Rider, Hulk, Sleepwalker, Nova, the Fantastic Four, the Deathlock, you know, some of the characters that were really big around this time. In fact, Spidey even mentions that they practically have a new Fantastic Four reunion, but somehow or another they didn't manage to squeeze Wolverine into this book, even though he was in everything else. Yeah. And Hulk makes a comment in there, something about I think he had a team up with the Punisher. So it'd be really interesting to go back and see if there actually was like a Wolverine Punisher team up going on at that same time.
We should check with our Punisher correspondent.
Yeah. So we got some blending going on in the background. I apologize if you guys can hear that. My wife is making me my Father's Day dessert for tomorrow. But we get a lot of good 90s stuff in here, including cyborg-looking Spidey that they were able to work in. You know, because what more represents a Spider-Man thing other than, you know, we give him some pouches, we give him a cybernetic arm, we give him this eye thing.
Very nice.
You know, we're throwing pouches on all kinds of stuff. Kurt loves to talk about Cyclops and his pouches, you know, that he must just keep his spare batteries in or whatever it was.
You get a pouch.
So,
little man bag.
So these comics are just full of the stuff that represented the 90s for Marvel. And I will say, reading through this, you know, I realized that the story itself, some of the writing was very fast and clumsy and really lacking some of the details that might have made it a good story, a good, well-written story. I think there was more interest here in concentrating on the artwork, which was a complaint of Todd McFarlane's run as well. It was very heavy on the visual storytelling rather than in the writing, which some people enjoy that. I like a nice balance of both because, I mean, after all, comic books is a visual medium, but you also want the writing. You want some good witty banter going on between Spidey and Doc Ock and everybody else, and you do get some of that. I don't want to cut this short, but there's probably too much of the visual storytelling and not a lot of the good writing to go with it, and some of the things that are going on. Some of the stuff is just glossed over so much that you don't really understand what Dr. Octopus's whole plot is. It involves stealing some high-tech weapons from another dimension to take over the world, but there's not really a lot filled in as to why. All the members of the Sinister Six at this point, after their last meeting, had hated each other and didn't want to work together. And they addressed that, but in the end, they come back together in such a way that most of them are just accepting, like, oh, whatever, we'll just, we know that we're all going to betray each other, but we might as well work together for a goal that we don't even understand. So so it would have been nice to have a little bit better writing and some understanding on what was going on and why. It was an excuse to throw in a lot of other characters without doing an actual crossover, which in a way was nice because it introduces you to some characters from other books without, you having to actually go out and buy, the Incredible Hulk or Deathlock or Sleepwalker or the Fantastic Four or any of those books. But you get to sample the characters. The problem is some of those samples are so brief, and you don't get a lot of it. I barely know anything about Sleepwalker based just on his appearance in this story. He's there and then he's not, and it's such a brief appearance. In fact, the final team up, they don't even explain how the heroes get together. They're just there. All these heroes just kind of appear to help Spider-Man. It's like he happens to run into them all at the same place where the bad guys happen to be. So it's a very rushed, clumsy story. But it is entertaining to go back and think about how typical this was of a lot of 90s comics, especially in this case, Marvel, but not just Marvel. You had a lot of the same things going on in a lot of different books. And of course, the things that made up these Spider-Man books, Todd McFarlane and Eric Larson's work, they carried over into Image Comics, which, that was Image's whole thing. It's right in the name, Image Comics. It was about visual storytelling, so much more than the good characters and good art, good storytelling. It was very heavy on the art and the imagery of everything.
Good. All right, let's jump over to Kirby.
Yeah, we got Colossus, God's Country. When Colossus, the Russian-born X-Man, decides to take a vacation in America's heartland, he little expects to run into the Cold Warriors, a covert organization dedicated to keeping America pure. They are soon out to make him and the family who'd befriended him into a red stain on the landscape. God's Country, written by Ann Nocenti and drawn by Rick Leonardi, with inking by P. Craig Russell, is a cautionary tale that will make you say your prayers. This is basically your countryman from another country in a country full of people that don't like his country, so they attack him, and people he helps attack him until they realize that he's helping them out, and then they finally start to like him. It's your standard comic artwork from those days. It's a good story if you like those storylines. It's basically just wants to get out on a vacation, of course, runs into all kinds of headaches on the way, and it's lots of arguing, lots of fighting. It was a good story, but yeah, just lots of conflict, lots of aggression.
Yep.
Go ahead.
How does it read, since Colossus is one of the X-Men? let's say someone just picked it up because just whatever, they like the cover or something. So does it give you introduction on him,
This
or-
is my first introduction to an individual Colossus item, not having them with the X-Men and stuff. It doesn't really give you any detail on his storyline, what he came from, other than that he's from Russia and stuff like that. And he's just walking around as his normal human self, and then once the conflict starts, he metals up, and you get that aspect of it, but you don't really find out why he has those powers or how he got the powers or anything like that. But other than that, you can read it as a decent story and understand everything. But yeah. It was all right.
Good.
More fun if you put him with Deadpool.
Let's jump on over to Dr. Kurtzstad.
The new, this is the new arc that's coming out in Avengers right now. The Age of Khonshu, Part 1. Khonshu is the god of the moon that Moon Knight works for. You also have it. So I was going to ask whether anybody else read this.
Oh, yeah.
I did. I have lots of questions about Moon Knight because I've never encountered him before.
Well, this is not the Moon Knight you normally see. Yes, Moon Knight has some powers. He's usually stronger. It waxes and wanes with the phase of the moon. He's a split personality. He has like 4 or 5 different personalities running around inside his head. He worships the god Khonshu and is his champion in the world. Where this goes off the rails, though, and kind of takes you into something totally different, is normally he's not on the level of any of the top tier sort of superheroes. And I'm probably giving a few more spoilers than normal. I do want to offer people what this is about so they can say, yeah, that's an arc I'd love to join in, or not. Yes, there's Anthony showing us the pages. So the story starts out really fast. Moon Knight shows up, is sitting there waiting for Iron Fist to show up. Iron Fist comes and says, well, why didn't you just come and see me? I live in Manhattan. But it turns out he doesn't want to see Danny Rand. He wants to take the Iron Fist from him. And they have a fight. And beyond all belief, if you've read about these characters at all, Moon Knight beats the snot out of Iron Fist. And essentially takes away his power. And so then the story immediately moves over to, now we have conflict with Doctor Strange is the next one. Again, Moon Knight beats the snot out of Doctor Strange and steals his power. And then we jump right from there to the new Ghost Rider, staggering out of bed, going out to look for his car outside. And lo and behold, the demon charger is gone. And then we see Moon Knight behind the wheel driving it away. He's now stolen the power of the Ghost Rider. And finally, well, then we go to Wakanda. He meets Black Panther and Black Panther says, well, you can't steal my power. It's in my blood, but I'll go along with you. And so he wanders off with Black Panther. Then we have him fighting Thor, and he beats the snot out of Thor, takes his hammer. And so obviously he's going from hero to hero, taking all their power. You have no idea what's going on until the very last page of the book, where he's standing with Khonshu, the god of the moon, and it says, my name is Moon Knight, the Fist of Khonshu, Earth's mightiest hero, Earth's last hope against the devil. And then we have Khonshu who says, well done, my fist. Khonshu approves. Now we can save the world. And so you get kind of this whirlwind introduction to the whole arc in which he's becoming Earth's mightiest hero by taking the powers from all the other heroes. And now we have some cosmic conflict that's obviously going to happen. So I found it interesting. Certainly, if you wanted an adventure issue, you got all the adventure you wanted, not all the explanations you wanted by the end of this particular issue. But it sets up for a really, I think, an interesting arc to come. So I wanted to be a little more full in giving you the picture so you can decide, do you want to jump into this arc or not?
So this is not a Moon Knight you would normally read about, because what I've kind of heard is that Moon Knight was kind of like the Marvel amalgam of Batman.
In some ways, Moon Knight serves Khonshu, and Khonshu is the god of the moon for the Egyptians, but he's also the god of vengeance. So most of the time what Moon Knight is doing is seeking somebody who's really bad and going and beating them into the dirt. That's basically what Moon Knight normally does. His powers, though, are relatively limited. He has increased strength minimally. He's got a whole set of weapons, silver moon crescent stars that he throws at people, some nunchucks. He's got all kinds of that sort of thing. His suit is somewhat armored, but he's not in. Normally, when you read Moon Knight, he's not on the level of any of these other heroes. And for him to just step in and start taking them out one by one, you know something odd is going on here. And all of them, even before he defeats them and kind of has their power, he's using skills that they have. So, like when he fights Iron Fist, he's using martial arts things that you would never see Moon Knight in the normal comic using to pound Iron Fist into the ground. I mean, you're left with the impression by the end of the book that it must be his god is somehow empowering him for this so they can go and take these other powers, but it's sort of mysterious so far. And I thought it was a really unexpected, when I started reading this, it's like, what in the world? I mean, these other heroes aren't even able to stand up to him at all. So we will see. They've got me hooked, but I hope they come up with a good that this takes us into something I'm interested in. But it's an interesting hook to it all.
Agreed. All right, let's go to a galaxy far, far away with Katie.
All right, we'll get there together in my very, very earthbound Toyota Camry. All right, I am back with another Star Wars epic collection. This time it is The Empire, Volume 3. So continuing with this storyline from the past few weeks. It contains stories called Darth Vader and the Ghost Prison, Star Wars Dark Times, and covers a whole bunch of Dark Times arcs. Wraps that up pretty well. And then Darth Vader and the Ninth Assassin. All right, I read this over 2 days. It was so good. I just sat and read like half a book at a time. Let's see. So I loved the opening story, Darth Vader and the Cry of Shadows. Or no, excuse me, Darth Vader and the Ghost Prison. Cry of Shadows is what I'm reading right now. So in Darth Vader and the Ghost Prison, there is a coup by senior members of the former Republic, now Imperial Army. And the Empire and the Emperor are really badly wounded, and Darth Vader has to get him out of there. And he brings the only member of the graduating class who wasn't in on this coup, so who wasn't a traitor to the Empire. And they get to go to a secret Jedi prison. And from there, it all goes kind of crazy because in addition to going to the prison, they have prisoners there. And Darth Vader is being super awesome, like he always is as a bad guy. Horrible person, really cool bad guy. And there is effectively a death match between the prisoners and Darth Vader. And that's not even the wildest thing to happen in this book. So that was really cool. I loved that story. Honestly, this whole book was really a Vader-centric book. So if you like cool stories about Vader just like kicking the life out of everyone, you should pick this up. The Dark Times line has been going through the first 3 volumes of this epic collection series, and it's following a group of refugees and Jedi younglings throughout the galaxy and how are they surviving in this world that doesn't want them anymore. And the group with younglings gets a happy ending, mostly after going through some really bad times. They do find a place that will welcome them and let them live and grow up. And then our refugee crew on the spaceship Uhumali, which contains a former Jedi, some mercenaries, and some war refugees, finally gets their, revenge effectively on Darth Vader and the Empire. And then they go off from there. It kind of as they're going their separate ways, and maybe we'll see if they meet up again. And then finally, Darth Vader and the Ninth Assassin. Honestly, there was a character who was very good as a bad guy, but I didn't like him because he just creeped me out in this. He was effectively an assassin, and he was pretty gross, and I didn't like him all that much, but that's the point. He's supposed to be a villain. It's very weird when you read these stories, and you're not exactly cheering for Darth Vader because he's a great person, but just because he's just such a charismatic bad guy. So that's a little bit weird, but I did end up being like, oh, good, I'm glad he beat him. And then we finally get to see some, culmination of all the Emperor's manipulation of Vader and Anakin, where the Empire admits that he hired this assassin to go after Vader and see what he would do. So that's pretty messed up. But anyway, I really enjoyed this. Definitely worth the money. I have Volume 4 picked up and ready to go. So that is Star Wars Epic Collection, The Empire, Volume 3.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right.
Let's jump right over to Jim for our next one.
All right. I have Bitterroot number 8. Bitterroot is a story about a black family in the 1920s in Harlem who their purpose in life is to remove evil Jinnu, who are basically humans that, because of the hatred in their heart, that hatred takes them over and they become demon-like beings. Through various fighting techniques and the root work of Ma'eda, they are able to usually convert these people back into normal humans and hopefully cure them of the hate that's in their heart. This has been a really interesting story all the way through. The back matter in there is always very interesting because the writers themselves not only put their perspective in, but they contact other black historians and artists and people that have worked in the black community, the history of the black community in America and Africa and the Caribbean for that matter, where the roots of this root work, this herbalism thing that has gone on for centuries comes from. The story they've got now, reading this book, they have rescued some people from basically a hell and brought some of their family members who were lost back. And with that came a demon. Now this demon is trying to power up so it can go in a full battle. And they are leaving Harlem and chasing this demon, and find out that this demon is headed, of all places, to Georgia. And the way that they talk about it here, that's if Ardro has made it to Earth, and if he did escape, why would he choose Georgia to start his war against humanity? The answer, he hasn't started the war. He's stocking up on ammunition. Ardro draws strength from pain, suffering, and grief. He feeds on it. And there's plenty of all three for him to gorge on down south. Now remember, this is the 1920s. And then there's a character called Berg, who a couple issues back was infected with some demon poison, and he is resisting the urge to convert into one of those. And he has always been a really well-read and very precisely spoken character. And he quotes, "It was Henry Wadsworth Longfellow who said, 'There is no grief like the grief that does not speak.' He was mistaken. There is a grief that cries out so loud it drowns out all sound. But when the screams fall upon deaf ears, the soul becomes tormented. And that quote for the things that are going on with the Black community today, I thought was just particularly appropriate. And knowing how the schedule for writing a comic book works, this had to have been written months, if not, longer before Mr. Floyd was killed. But, it just worked out so well for everything that was going on. And then there has been another doctor who is kind of working to get the secrets of the family for his own purposes. And he's also down south, and he comes across a father whose son was lynched because the group said that he had laid his hand on a white woman, so they hung him. And his son has come back, but not quite to life. He's more like a zombie, and they're like, got to find out what's going on with him. So that's another interesting turn that this book has taken. So, again, like all the way through, it's been really interesting to read how they're writing from the 1920s to reflect what's happening now, especially in the last few weeks. So.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. My next title here is branching out of the X-Statix. This is X-Statix Presents Dead Girl. This is a 5-issue miniseries. When the pitiful one decides that he's tired of being dead, he assembles a posse of Marvel's deadest villains to attack the world of the living, and it's up to Doctor Strange to stop him and his evil cohorts. Dead Girl's character branching off of the X-Statix team. She has a mutant gene where she can come back to life after being killed. She's intangible, and she's able to communicate with the dead. So yeah, I have talked about all the X-Force and X-Statix a couple weeks back. So this was on the stack to read. What's cool about this is that it's mostly a Doctor Strange story. Like, I could see this being billed as Doctor Strange that also just has Dead Girl in it for the entire series. But it really is like a Strange-centric story, opening up with Doctor Strange and Wong and the Sanctum, and the idea that they're going to go to hell and stop these dead villains who basically want to come back to Earth, come back to life, and bring themselves back to life. So it's Doctor Strange is kind of assembling a crew who he is going to get to hopefully stop these people. And when they go to get a crew, they need a crew of dead people as well. So in order to fight the people from hell, they are going to heaven to get some of the people that had died in the Marvel Universe. And I think it's in the first or second issue. I'll get the panel as I kind of keep talking here. What's kind of cool is seeing a really interesting team up here with some of these characters. We see some of the former X-Statix characters jump in there. We have the Ancient one. We have what's his face? I can't think of the Spider-Man, the animal guy. Craven. I know when I say animal guy, that covers
lizard.
That's 100 characters. But Craven, and we see Mysterio in here. Basically all the characters that are currently dead at the time of the story being told. And this series really dives into the meaning of how a Marvel character comes back to life. There is some very kind of meta stuff going on here where we always, every single comic book fan and podcast talks about the idea that nobody stays dead. And this comic within the story continuity deals with how these characters do eventually come back. And a string of it is the idea that there's demand for it and there's a popularity to it. So if somebody really popular dies, like a Spider-Man, he's going to die, but he's going to come back within the next year, of course, because everybody wants to read more Peter Parker Spider-Man. So they find a nice story idea that really explains how that actually happens within the fictional storytelling. When they go to heaven, they are finding it must be issue 3, because it's a pretty good panel. When they go to heaven, in order to find some of the people, they come across some people that are having a book club. And those people, which I wish I would have set aside because I could not find that darn page now. We see Gwen Stacy as one of them. We see Mockingbird is in there. I think Moira McTaggart, to our X-Men fans, I'm sure she probably died at one point.
Yeah, I think, at many points, according to the new.
Oh, yeah. I suppose because this was like maybe 10 years prior to our Powers and House of X that we just read. But yeah, I mean, what's kind of cool, a lot of them, it's just kind of you notice them by recognition of just like, oh, well, that's clearly Gwen Stacy. And, well, this isn't in the page I'm looking for, but we do see Gwen and Mockingbird in there and then Dead Girl as well. But it's kind of cool how they're just traveling through heaven to find some heroes. Ant-Man, Scott Lang is one of those who had died for a period of time. So yeah, this series was really fun. For Doctor Strange fans, as in Dr. Kurt's dad raises both hands. I think you would really enjoy this. You don't really need to know much about Dead Girl herself if you haven't read any X-Force X-Statix, because once again, it's really led by Doctor Strange. And but yeah, it's very funny. It's kind of creepy and just weird, off the wall, just using a bunch of crazy characters. So really enjoyed that. It's a 5-issue run called X-Statix Presents Dead Girl.
All right. I have to check that one out.
All right. Let's jump over to Damon.
Okay, before I get started, has anyone read Saga?
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping several of you have.
I've read it too.
Awesome. I'm reviewing Saga. This is the Deluxe Edition, Volume 1. There's 3 of these, covering all 54 issues. It's written by Brian Vaughan and Fiona Staples. This has rapidly become one of my favorite series so far.
Yeah.
That I've read. It is excellent. There's going to be 108 issues total for this story arc. Only 54 have been released so far, and they're in the 3 hardcovers. This is basically a Star Wars meets Romeo and Juliet type story. That's the best way I could describe it. It's told from the perspective of Hazel, which is the little baby you see here. Trying to explain it, basically the story centers around like these 2 planets. There's this big planet called Landfall, and their people have wings. They look kind of like basically humans with just fairy wings on their back. The only satellite to this planet is this moon, which is called Wreath. And on this planet, the people have horns, kind of like a ram's head. And the 2 planets absolutely hate each other and have been at war forever. But they soon realize that by destroying one planet, since they're satellites of each other, will actually destroy their own planet. So they fight everywhere else in the galaxy. And they force other planets to their side. So everybody's either with the horns or with the wings. What this story is about is a horn and a wing fall in love and have a kid. And that just ticks off everybody. So now everybody is chasing them and trying to kill them. Both sides of the war, there's bounty hunters that are tracking them down. Everything centers around trying to get their hands on the little kid, the newborn infant. I had a blast with this story. There's all kinds of alien species. There's a lot of action. One species is robots that have like a television head, and they can flash images. There's ghosts, all kinds of creatures. For instance, here's a prince of the robot race. You can see his face is actually like an old monitor screen.
Yeah, Fiona Staples draws the heck out of this book when it comes to designs and just interesting aliens and creatures. And
like here's the two overlooking a huge battle with like giant creatures and people. Oh, if I could see what I'm doing. There's a Marco and Alana, who are the two main people. And even their own families, like you see Marco's parents come in this, and they don't like the fact that he's with the Wings. But the art is great. There's all kinds of species. This is mature themed. There is some sex. There is some nudity. A lot of violence and some blood. But one of my favorite characters is actually called Lying Cat. He's a cat, and he can tell if you're lying. The species can. So every time someone says something, if it's wrong, he'll go liar. And everyone knows that the person is lying. There's sarcasm, there's humor, there's interracial romances. There's actually some reporters in here that are actually gay, even though their race prohibits that. A lot of social issues that are actually relevant and going on today, right now. It's got a little bit of everything. There's a pleasure planet called Sextillion. I'm not going to go into anything on that. It was fun. The art is great. I'm trying to find some good scenes that won't give anything away. I went into this book blind, not knowing what to expect, just how it's in a lot of people's top 5 series. And I admit, when I first saw it, the cover kind of pushed me off. I'm like, no, I'm not interested. But everybody kept saying how great it was. And this was a perfect example of never judge a book by its cover. Because I read this and it turned out to be actually one of my favorite series. I can't wait to pick up volume 2 and 3. And I am on the long list of people desperately waiting for him to write the next 54 issues. And it's going to be the same people. Fiona Staples and Brian Vaughan will be finishing the whole 108 issue run. So if you haven't read Saga, I strongly recommend picking up singles, trades, the hardcovers, whatever you can, because it is an absolute great series and it's a lot of fun to read.
Yeah, now is the perfect time during the hiatus to kind of get caught up. Now, you gave a lot of praise saying how much you love the series. To be able to tell whether or not you're lying, I have Lying Cat right here. So we're just going to listen to hear if he says lying on your review. Let's listen in. Hey, you told the truth. All right, let's jump over to Kirby.
All right, David just woke up. Looking too comfortable over there. All right, checked out Domino. It's a 3-issue run. I've been curious about this character from the X-Force. While taking some time away from the X-Force, she runs into an enemy from the past disguised as a munchkin during Carnival. Finds out a love from her past is about to die, and she goes to save him and finds more enemies, such as Lady Deathstrike. Her love is her ex-husband, I guess, Milo Thurman. This character is kind of gave me there's a little munchkin guy. He's all mechanicalized. It's a character that she fought in the past and thought he was dead, and she beat him, but he came back to life, and he's got like little robotic legs and arms and springs out and just turns from a munchkin to this giant character and stuff and attacks her. She reminded me a lot of Madman, how she basically doesn't have really any superpowers that I've seen yet. She's basically a good shot and stuff like that, but she gets a lot of, every time she does something just falls in her favor, and she gets lucky with what she does. She'll be getting beaten up and something will happen that just saves her life. She should have died at least 5 times in this 3-issue run. But yeah, it's from 1997. It was fun. It was interesting. I definitely want to learn more about her. I haven't read any X-Force stuff yet, so I'm looking forward to seeing the group together. And yeah, kind of like a female Madman character to me.
Cool. All right, let's jump on over to Dr. Kurtzstad.
I've got kind of a historic piece. 1994, the 300th issue of Iron Man. What made this issue interesting is it was a turning point in lots of ways for Tony Stark as Iron Man. It's also a good historical perspective in some ways. The comic centers around the fact that there's Iron Man for us to. You can fill in anything I miss, Iron Man. It begins with us. The main bad guy for the comic is Ultimo, a giant robot that's crashing across the countryside, destroying everything. Tony Stark has already gone down while fighting Ultimo. There was a cybernetic feedback in his nervous system. He's in the hospital, and so they have to find someone else to fill in. Jim Rhodes comes in to kind of be the leader, though at this point he hates being War Machine. He's had some kind of trauma that came out in Iron Man 284 that kind of has driven him away from being War Machine, and now he has to come back and he has to be War Machine again, and he has to not only that but tell a bunch of other people that he is War Machine. And he knows he can't take on Ultimo by himself, so he calls in all the other people who have at one time or another had to wear the Iron Man suit. So he runs like Anthony there, but you're not in there. Sorry, Anthony. He calls in Happy Hogan, Eddie March, Bethany Cabe, Mike O'Brien, Carl Walker, all who have been Iron Man before, and he puts them in one of the classic Iron Man armors from the opening first armor, the classic red and gold armor, in both of its forms, both its early form and then its later, and the two newest forms of Iron Man armor. So they suit all of them up to go and fight Ultimo at first. And then we get a cutscene back to the hospital where Tony is laying in a coma. Veronica Benning, his physical therapist, is there with him. He's been trying to recover from damage from the past. He couldn't even walk. She's there now. They've been falling in love, and she's trying to talk him out of it, call him back from his coma. At the same time, we get to see what's going on in his psyche at the time. All the trauma he's gone through with his father, who told him he was never good enough, has been what's been holding Tony back all this time. And so he's fighting to recover, fighting with all these old memories. In the meantime, the Iron Team, at first they look like they might hold up pretty well against Ultimo, and then they get swatted like flies. One ends up badly injured, one running away with them. The person in the original armor knows they're almost useless in this fight. So they're not sure how they're going to hold up. And so then we cut back to Tony, who finally works out his problems with his father, tells the ghost of his father to leave him alone. He is proud of who he's become. He claims who he is and comes out of his coma. He still can't walk very well, but he makes his way to his brand new armor that he's developed, staggers over into it, climbs into it, and goes off. And then you get the big climax. So you can I'm going to leave it there. Go and find Iron Man 300. Find out what happens as Iron Man comes to try to save the day as the other Iron Mans have failed. Iron Man 300, it's really interesting. There's a lot of relational pieces that get tied together in this. You get a classic kind of look back at some of Iron Man's earlier armor that was developed, and it sets the stage for what's to come in the Iron Man that goes beyond number 300. So classic piece, 1994, Iron Man 300.
All right. from Anthony Tony Stark to Jim James Rhodes. Jim, you're next.
All right. I have got Stealth number 2. This is from Image Comics, and this is the story of a superhero who has early onset Alzheimer's, told basically from the point of view of his son. We saw his son discover that his father had been, and still is, the superhero known as Stealth. And for it, he got beaten up by his father. We open up on a bad guy who's torturing a prisoner, and then we go to the hospital where the young man is getting treated, and then he finds out, hey, where did my dad go? He's not here, and blames the nurse for not watching him. And she goes, oh no, you did not just tell me how to do my job. And then we actually see Stealth in action here. And while he is helping people, he is very violent, and it seems to be more violent than he used to be, which, given the Alzheimer's status of the man behind it, is understandable. We also see what the Stealth is basically capable of. When he returns to his home, he can tell that his son is in the house hiding even before he sees him, because of the Stealth suit that he wears. We find out the origin of Stealth. He was a firefighter in 1979 in Detroit, and while on a fire call, he fell into a building and woke up outside of the building site in a drainage ditch with a case. And upon opening the case, tentacles kind of work his way into his body, and the suit appears on him. So it's kind of got a Blue Beetle kind of vibe with that, where there's a scarab that takes over and builds the armor around Jamie Reyes, or who is a current holder of the Blue Beetle title. That way. And then we find out we don't actually find out who he is, but we see the big bad at the very end of the book. And got a kind of a Two-Face kind of.
Tornado warning alert?
Yep, we're all getting the tornado
warning alert, yeah.
For real, I am actually going to go inside because I'm still sitting in my car, so I'm going to sign out. See you in a few minutes.
All right. Yep. Tornado warning until 5:45.
I didn't get an alert. I guess they want me to die. Oh.
Well, we're in Kewaskum, so
yeah, might just be.
Might not have hit you yet.
I haven't got anything yet.
We don't have anything here.
I don't know. I gotta check, but I haven't gotten an alert.
Was it a warning or a watch?
Warning.
A warning.
That's what I got.
We're already in the basement. So.
I'm in the basement already, so
I'm not.
I'll let you know if my roof goes away.
Well, go do what you got to do. Be safe. But yeah, and this villain though has been around for apparently hundreds of years. So that's what we got going on with him. And then they show some drawings of the Stealth costume and the back stuff. You get to see what that's like.
Both.
We lost Anthony.
And Anthony is, oh, there he is.
Checking
I
out.
thought he got taken by a tornado, but.
Okay. All right, let me try to get situated here. All right.
Got all
next-
the props together.
Yep.
No, he just in case the tornado comes, he's buckling in, fastening himself to the chair. So
Yeah, I've got my mask and. Okay, the next step here is going to be the all-new Doop miniseries. There's a green potato-looking thing that lives with the X-Men. He is Doop. All right. This story here, when Doop gets deeply involved in X-Men business and in the personal life of Kitty Pryde, he will be thrust into the spotlight. This adventure will prove that Doop is, in fact, the most powerful X-Men. All right, so Doop is part of I think a World War II experiment. There's not much history known. I think there's some other issues beyond this that dig into his past a little more. But everybody came to learn who he was as the cameraman for the team, the X-Statix. X-Force turned into X-Statix. And so he was the cameraman. He speaks his own language that, as a reader, you don't know what it is. At the end of one of the X-Static issues, you do get a little a translator, and you can actually translate all of the gibberish speak that he speaks in his word balloons. And you see some of it in the title. Some of it's under his name here, where you just see some of the text of how his language works.
Yeah, I believe that says drink your Ovaltine.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Time out here from Damon.
My wife said our siren is actually going off, and I'm in the center of West Bend. So if you're around here, you might want to go look outside and see if you're about to blow away.
yeah, I was just looking at it too, just to make sure, because I don't hear a siren or anything. But it does say it's Washington County. And radar indicated rotation is the source.
Not doing anything here.
Let's see, doing the tracking. Don't know where it is now. Newburgh around 5:35. The warning goes till 5:45. So I guess my question is, not everybody's in a basement, and we do want to be safe. And
Yep. I guess my wife.
Katie's trying to get back into the meeting here. So do you guys want to stop here so everybody can go be safe, take shelter, whatever, and we'll come back and just wrap things up a little bit later. I'll just keep the meeting going, or we can do a new invite too. But yeah, I mean, safety first. So we'll go.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. So, I don't know if I'll get back in because we have Dungeons and Dragons tonight.
Right at 6.
So,
Get into your
okay.
I've enjoyed it. I will. The only one I'll keep over of my list, because I think it's fun to take a look at for next time, is Superman, Spider-Man. So hang on to that one for next time. We'll do that one.
Okay.
So yeah, well,
Thanks, everyone.
we'll take a break here. Some of us may return, hopefully alive.
Okay, and if this gets cut off, I will just send another invite. But I'm just going to leave it up and running. We'll go, like I said, I don't hear any siren or anything right now, but some of you are, and whatever. Go be
All right.
safe and
Take care, everyone.
See you later.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, stopping the audio recording. Yeah, I didn't get any sirens over here.
Yeah, we got clear skies by us.
Okay.
It's dark outside here, but the sirens did not go off in Kewaskum.
Yeah, I don't.
Going?
Yeah, I just heard it again.
We live on, if you're familiar with West Bend, we're down not too far away from where Meyer is, on Paradise in Maine. We're south
Okay.
of Meyer.
Okay, so the one down there is going off. The one up here is not.
So you must be totally safe, David.
Well, and not saying that that I might be. Warning's a warning. We're all under it. I'd advise everybody to do what you got to do to head down
I
the
guess I'm the only
basement.
weird one. I go outside.
Yeah, I'm one of those people too. Where? I don't see anything.
That's
So
why
listen-
everybody wants
Apparently
to.
on the
listen to the
television
train
they
sound.
said it's in Jackson too. So it's mostly to the south, I get apparently.
Okay, and that might be why you guys are down on the south end of West Bend for Damon and Amy, and that might be why they were hearing a siren. So
This way, if I float away on my way to Oz, you guys can see it.
Sold on your heaviest omnibus. That'll keep you to the ground.
There.
What is this? It's not even a storm.
I know.
actually, yeah, I kind of looking at the radar too here.
Here, let me go outside.
You figure when Damon gets there, I'll be the cowardly lion. Anthony will be the Tin Man.
It's not storming. You're in the eye right now.
David will be Dorothy.
Yep, the sirens definitely.
Jim can be Toto. The other one, the third one.
You can hear it.
I'm going
Scarecrow.
Scarecrow. That's right. Jim would be Scarecrow.
No, I gotta listen to see if I can hear it here, or if I'm just hearing
I
Damon.
hear the rains down in Africa.
There's no good dark clouds up there.
Yeah, Katie says she has no audio, so she's back in, but just without audio, just so we know.
Uh,
I'm kind of like this Damon vision here. We should have this be a regular segment.
You left the moth in. There he is. Okay, I got him up.
They don't want to be out in the storm.
You guys hear the siren?
Now,
Oh,
yeah.
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 No, it's not even raining. We must be in the eye.
That was weird.
Yeah, that's when you got to worry, is when everything stops.
I hear a lot of rain out here. If you ask them. Thunder even.
Yeah, I'm north of Barton and it's pouring right now. It's thundering.
Well, we're all good.
We got sunny. Come on down. We'll have a bonfire.
Yeah, and as I went to go step to get up to look outside, I've knocked my dang water bottle, so that's where I kind of left for a little bit. So
Yeah, I forgot my water.
I have mine over there if you want to drink.
I can go for a drink.
Just don't spill it all over yourself.
I'll try not to.
I think it's got some in there.
Pull that showed off what Shelly got this week. I can show what I got this week.
hold on, let me get.
Han Solo and Carbonite Pop.
Ooh, nice.
Cool.
Kind of looks like a Silver Surfer Han Solo.
Yeah, it's.
I just find it interesting that on one side of West Bend the siren is going off, and on the other side it's not.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's because, like he said, where they're projecting it from is Jackson area. So you're close to Jackson area. So.
Yeah, and listening carefully out the window, you can kind of hear a siren, but it's not the one that's closer to us.
Oh, they're killing the siren.
So exciting.
False alarm.
Let's see a cow go flying through the air as they pass Damon.
It's okay.
We
The
got
witch
cows.
is dead. Yeah, Dorothy got the ruby slippers.
The only cow you'd see flying in my subdivision would be me.
Aww.
Whatever you do, don't milk it.
You do, you have a friend for life.
Would it be because you're a squirrel, Damon? Wasn't there a story where there were some squirrels that were hiding out on Earth as cows? I think that was a story in Marvel.
Oh no,
You can get bit up by mosquitoes. You're like a mosquito magnet.
because I'm so sweet.
Yeah.
There's no mosquitoes in Wisconsin.
Well, now the rain's picking back up.
Yeah, tornadoes passed.
Oh,
How was the rain down in Africa?
I don't know. Watch that.
Yeah, rain
Lightning
all the
detected
time.
2.2 miles away.
What's that?
I just got an alert. Lightning detected 2.2 miles away.
Ooh, now the wind's shifting. Now I'm starting to get wet. All right, I'm coming back.
I'm melting. I'm melting.
A severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for your location.
Well, that's boring.
There's the TV right up.
Okay.
They're all dead.
I just got breaking news that I figured out why this is all happening. Mjolnir, I knocked it over and it activated. So
Nice one.
Anthony.
Who,
Oh,
You're
no.
the reason we can't have good.
Told you to put your toys away.
So you're like 2 miles away from Jim? Is that
Yep.
Yeah, about that. Not quite.
2.2?
Yeah, I'm not worthy anymore. I can't pick this up.
It's really pouring out there now.
Yeah, well, at least your bird shit's getting
I'm like, hey, let's pause the club and everybody go be safe. I mean, we got people running outside. We got people like
Playing with toys.
I'm in my living room right out the window. I can see if it comes.
Oh, at least
Like
it
this.
gives you a little under the cowl stuff to work with for the week.
I was already in the basement.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Now you lost Dr. Kurt's dad.
Yeah.
It took them 4 weeks to get these books.
Now you Jesus Christ.
Turns out it's just noon, so the siren was going off.
Yeah.
Which I always wonder what happens if there is a tornado at noon.
No.
Yeah.
I think it has happened in Camel Sport. I think the siren just, I can't remember if it goes louder or not, but I think it just keeps on
Just
longer.
keeps going.
No, because everybody just goes, oh, it's noon. Oh, siren. Oh, it's noon. And Anthony can't decide what he's doing. It's like, do I go into the basement? Do I stay here? Do I grab some more toys?
How do I get all my collectibles downstairs to protect them?
Should I do Miss Piggy or should I do
Gotta make sure my slippers are safe.
Gonzo?
Were you talking about me?
No.
No, not at all.
Lying. Lying.
So that is the cat from the Saga thing?
Yep. This is, I think it was one of the free comic book day exclusives because it's got all the blood and everything.
Yeah, I know you showed him before, but I was thinking he was from something else.
He's cute.
They have a big stuffed animal version. I just haven't hunkered down on the money because it was like a San Diego exclusive or something, I think.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
I think some stores have it now, but I think it's in that like $60 range. So I'm just putting away all my tripping hazards.
Yeah, rain's picking up a bit. Why is it blowing around in circles? Yeah, we're good until the power goes out.
Yeah, as soon as we start, then you guys will lose power.
Yeah.
It's coming down pretty good over here.
For a second there, I kept expecting Damon to say, "This just in." You got your news report there?
Yeah, just working on my pull list.
Oh, okay.
Or my last will and testament, just in case, you know.
I'll take those omnibuses.
Yep, my Howard the Dog omnibus I bequeath to Kirby. My Swamp Thing Absolute I bequeath to Anthony. My Star Wars collection can go to Katie. I don't know what she said. All I heard was beep beep, but I'm assuming it's cool.
You said Autobots.
You're doing your R2D2 impression.
I said thank you very much.
That laser beak, sound wave, rumble, eject. I think she's sound wave from the Transformers.
You're gonna be buried with your Buffy collection.
No, I don't know if she, Katie. I don't know if you hit your mute and unmute button real quick, but the second time when you were saying something, it actually did come through. The first time, yeah, your mute symbol is not actually going off your screen, and all you just hear this kind of electronic sounding thing. So
It's coming down pretty good now.
Yeah, it's raining in Camel Sport now. I remember the last time we had a good thunderstorm. It's been like 2 years.
Yep, my neighbor's just hanging on the porch looking. I'm just looking at it creeping from the window. Well, that bird poop should be able to get off the cars now, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping it's coming off.
Power wash.
Like some of those were so
Got a
black.
fresh coat tomorrow.
Yeah, black and
David's got his car parked underneath the canopy here, so it's not getting touched. Mine's gonna be bird poop free.
Oh, you left the tarp up?
Yeah, the thing's a pain, so we just left it up for now.
Yeah, wait till the tornado winds hit. You'll lose it in about an hour.
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe I should look and see if it's still there now.
What are those idiots doing down there out there taking down the tent in the middle of the storm?
Suppose it's only 2 weeks away for your next one, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, is there a set date for it?
Yeah, we're gonna do it 4th of July weekend, so 4th and 5th.
And what's the date for that?
The 23rd of July.
Hey, Anthony, did you see any signs up or anything for the hill climbs? I'm assuming they canceled them this year for Father's Day.
Yeah, I have no idea. I wouldn't be the one to ask because I don't like look at stuff around town.
Father's Day hill climbs?
I say climb, and I don't look.
Like I'm just in my own world, so if something's happening, here's the perfect example of it. They have like farm days and stuff that happens right down by the river, and it'll be happening, and I'll just like hear some noise because I'll be watching TV or reading or something. And I'll look out the window, and there's a horse walking past my house, and then I look outside. I'm like, oh, there's a big like event going on. So that's how much I know.
I figure you just walk out your door. Oh, horsey! Start following it around.
I found a bunch of apples. And
Yeah, I was gonna say by big event you mean the big event that the horse left.
I'm pretty sure they're doing the motorcycle grass drags out at the Ozaki Guzzler campground, but
yeah, all those words you just said, I don't know what those mean. So
yeah.
I still have to laugh because one year up in Kewaskum, one of the Christmas parades, they were walking out and they had horses that year, and the horses were dropping all over the road, and then right behind them is the marching band.
Aw.
Yep.
And it was hilarious because they did, and they, and we were watching from where it starts, so everybody kind of comes out and they kind of stop and then they move, as they start spreading out to leave. So the horses were walking through, kind of stopped. They're all dropping shit in the road, and then walked off. And then the marching band comes up, and then they have to kind of stop, and they're just marching right in place, right through the piles.
They didn't have a shovel brigade?
No, nobody was out there like following them, cleaning up.
hey, Dave, can you hand me some more of that cake?
I'd love
I'm
to.
jealous. I want some.
I think it all got cleaned up now.
So does your family of vegetarians eat cake?
It depends on the cake. Well, most of them will eat the cake. Depends on how it's made. Stuff like that.
Some will eat the frosting. Some will eat the cardboard box.
No, yeah, it depends on how it's made. Most stuff like that, like Tammy won't eat because of eggs.
Okay. So she doesn't eat fish either.
Right.
Okay.
What about fish eggs?
That would also be no. I can almost detect a little bit of sunlight.
Yeah, it's looking pretty bright in your house there.
Yeah, it's rain slowed down a little bit.
Just picked up by me and got really dark and gray.
Yeah, your screen is totally black.
Yes, that's true. It is. I was the tornado all along.
Well, it's not totally black. I mean, if you really look, you can see Katie.
See little eyes peeking through.
This is my true form.
Actually, I don't think that shows up on the recording, where it just says her name. I think when we record.
Yeah, the names don't show up at all on the recording. That's why I quit.
Yeah, because that's all on hers.
Oh, really?
Yep. So you guys are putting all that effort in for nothing.
It's only
It's just for our own amusement while we do this. So. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I could actually go in afterwards and edit the video and put names on there, but yeah.
No, that's all right. You just imagine what you put in there.
Yeah, just getting everything edited and put up is enough work without having to sit there and put in everybody's names. But remember, who was Anthony last time?
Yeah, I change it like 7 times an episode sometimes.
Yeah, I know. He's got, his name is like the show notes. Yeah. He's typing out the whole all the credits for the entire Star Wars saga.
Someone else has a siren now.
Oh. Yeah, I think that's.
Or she burned down the kitchen.
Yeah, I think that's just a timer in the kitchen. So.
Just yell at her. Shut the hell up! We're recording.
Well, I already told them they weren't going to be able to listen to music and stuff while they're cooking. So yeah, so that's what would normally be happening in there.
Can't clean yourself on camera.
Oh, we have a tornado Katie warning.
Oh.
Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo.
Where does all come from?
Thing. One of your toes, one of your creeps here. You left him. Oh, you left him.
They're all the same.
Are they all? There were some different ones.
Yeah, a couple different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know. We still got like 10 minutes left of that tornado warning. Yeah.
Pretty quiet by me. I don't hear anything anymore.
It's quiet. I think we're good.
You want to
jump back into it?
Sure. Might as well.
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Might as well, so we don't piss off the D&Ders.
Speaking of which, I'm going to have to jump out in about 15 minutes anyway.
Okie doke. All right. Just get my ducks in a row here. All right. I'm going to start the Doop over. All right. We are recording. All right. My next title here is going to be the all-new Doop. This is a mini-series, once again spinning out of the X-Statix series. There's a green potato-looking thing that lives with the X-Men. He is Doop. This mini-series is about the synopsis in 1 second. When Doop gets deeply involved in X-Men business and in the personal life of Kitty Pryde, he will be thrust in the spotlight. The adventure will prove that Doop is, in fact, the most powerful X-Man. So what this miniseries explores is giving us a little more information on Doop. We first saw him in the X-Force, then became X-Statix, as he was the team cameraman who spoke his own language that nobody understood, even us, the reader. But in the back of one of the X-Force X-Statix issues, we did get a key or a legend, a translation of sorts, in which we saw every letter of his alphabet. And I did go back on a couple things in some issues, and it's pretty hilarious how he said, they didn't get too vulgar, but there's some stuff that they would probably get past the censors because they're speaking in Doopish. And so yeah, there was kind of some fun stuff there. This series explores how this character, who is a World War II experiment turned mutant teacher at the X-Men Xavier School, he has a love for Kitty Pryde, and so he basically proposes to her in the first issue, and it gets real awkward real quick. Throughout this series, we dip into how Doop became who he is, where his roots came from. We see his home life, his family life, some flashbacks, and we start to learn more about the species and his family. And it's a very funny series. It does get pretty emotional about halfway through when we have a big storyline or a big reveal within his family. So it's pretty entertaining there, but it's Doop is a really weird character. There's a part in the series, because how do you have a miniseries on a character who's you can't read any of his word balloons? They find a very interesting way, because Kitty Pryde is trying to let him down gently, trying to come up with reasons why they would not be good as a couple, and she explains how I don't even understand you, so that is going to be a big problem. And he did some crazy thing with in his mouth, and because there's different things where you can go inside it, like a Doop verse in a way, and some weird thing he does, and he basically did some crazy stuff with his mouth, and then also he's speaking English. So he's like, hey there, all better, and then she has to come up with another excuse basically. But yeah, it's a pretty entertaining series with some emotional punches, a lot of fun. Here's a good example of how there's a lot of weird, I don't know how to word this other than how I'm going to word it. There's a lot of weird mouth stuff with Doop when it comes to the series. But yeah, that cover kind of really shows off the Doop section rather. So yeah, this is a fun little mini series. There might be some you're a little confused with if you just pick this up blind, but ultimately you're not missing that much, because that opening title pretty much tells you all it is, with this green potato looking thing. Yeah, so it was pretty entertaining, pretty fun. Had to get it to get the part of the collection there. So that is the all new Doop miniseries, total of 5 issues. All right. Next up, we're going to jump over to Jim.
Jim.
Did I say Damon or Jim?
No. Mute it.
You said Jim. I wasn't expecting it quite yet. I have Batman 92. Been expecting this one for a while because of, first of all, the quarantine shutdown, and then it was delayed even when DC started coming back with books for a few weeks. So this is the continuation of the designer story where there is somebody behind the supervillains who are tormenting Batman. This time it's the Riddler's turn, and he's got Batman running all over Gotham to solve a giant crossword puzzle to free the city so they can get back to work. Apart from that, the most notable thing about this is where Punchline actually makes her debut in the Batman story. And there's Punchline. And for those of you who don't know who Punchline is supposed to be, she is Joker's new girlfriend. And apart from her being in this book, Punchline and Harley get to meet. And Harley doesn't quite understand who she is at first. And when she does, things get angry. So that was the highlight of this story. And then, of course, Batman does get to the Riddler, and look how awful he's looking these days. I don't know what's going on with Nigma, but get out and get some protein or something. And then next issue, we are supposed to see the Batman face the designer himself. And hopefully we find out who really is the designer. And that will be it for me for this week. And I will see you all guys later.
Take care.
All right. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Okay, Anthony needs to unmute himself one of these days.
For the only time I've ever muted myself, and then it came to bite me. So, all right. As I adjust the list here, because I think we are going to have Kirby take us all the way home.
Oh, geez, we gotta start putting me in between things.
Well,
Okay.
I know I should have broke this up. It was 6 issues. I could have just one at a time.
One at a time. But continuing my Marvel Comics week, U.S.Agent 3-part run. It's from 2001. It's your basic man finds alien bug breeds off man's back, man infects beings with parasite offsprings from the bug. Government manipulation story with Captain Bummer included in here, Captain America. But let's show you a picture of the bug breeder here. This guy finds this alien that's left from one of the wars. I can't remember if it was a Kree alien or not, but I believe it was the Krees that brought him in, and they attached him to these little ape creatures, and they came to Earth and started killing people off, and then a couple of the bugs must have got away. There was some people walking around with a bag full of little bug babies that they were trying to sell on the black market or whatever, and Captain America comes in and is after everybody, trying to get the bugs back, and then he fights with U.S.Agent because U.S.Agent has a bug on him for a while. It's an interesting story. I like the little bug brain thing because the guy that has a giant bug on his back, he can just take the parasite babies from the bug and just stick them on people, and then he can mind control the people and make them do whatever he wants. But it's a fun little story if you want to learn a little bit more about U.S.Agent. And it kind of gives you his backstory, how he helped out Captain America for a while, took over Captain America's position for some time, I guess.
And I think we're going to be seeing U.S.Agent with the upcoming Disney Plus Winter Soldier and Falcon. I think he's part of that. So
yeah, I keep saying U.S.Agent, but U.S.Agent, yeah.
Because of Jim putting Batman in there, it kind of threw it out of order. So let's jump over to Damon. You have the 80th Joker, is that correct? So then we'll jump over to that then.
Yeah, this was much like the Catwoman one that I didn't get, but Anthony and Jim had read last week. This has 10 stories in it from the Joker. As far as I know, they're all new. They also intertwine, variant covers from some of their famous, the Joker's famous issues, and then pinups done by some of the popular artists. Just to piggyback off of Jim, here's actually the very first appearance of Punchline in her costume. This is Punchline's first, her story in here is you see Punchline as a college student, and she's dealing with the dean of the college. And what you don't know is the Joker is hidden in the closet, and this is actually going to be like her first victim. This was her test to prove herself to the Joker. And I think it goes from this story right into the Joker's War, which is going on with Batman ongoing series right now. Of the 10, it's these kind of books, there's hit and miss. There's some that are really good, and there's some that are all right, and then there's one or two flops. One of my favorite ones is actually the very first story. It's kind of like reminiscent of the Saw movies. It portrays the Joker as kind of like Jigsaw. They go over all his different victims. Like, here's one of his victims, how he ends up looking after the Joker's done with him. And the psychologist is trying to get him to heal, and then here's like a visual of some of his victims. The Joker does his joke to each victim, and it's custom tailored to what the victim's going on in his personal life. So everybody gets attacked differently in different ways and ends up disfigured in different ways. And it was pretty grisly for a comic story. And then one of my other favorites is called Batman's Dead, and or it's called Kill the Batman. And in this episode, Batman is dead, and Lois Lane is interviewing from inside the Batcave, and Alfred Pennyworth is the one that confessed to the world that Bruce Wayne was in fact Batman. And she interviews some of Bruce's friends. There's a thing with Superman and Wonder Woman and Commissioner Gordon. There's a couple quotes from the Dark Knight movies. Mr. Freeze even says a word. But the thing that's really going on in the background is, in front of this big press conference, the Joker is in the audience. And he's realizing now, without Batman, he's no one. It doesn't pay. He has no nemesis. He has no one that's smart enough to try and stop him. And, Batman was his, yin and yang. You can't have one without the other. So he decides to hang it up. And, of course, the best panel, I think, in the book is his new career.
Oh.
At the DMV. And the word bubble says, "Oh, I'm sorry. This is the wrong form. You'll have to fill out another one and go back to the end of the line again. Have a nice day."
Yeah.
So anyone who's gone to the DMV has had their share of meeting the Joker in one form or another. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah, because I went to, when I had to get my license renewal, it was about like 90 minutes, and I got to the front desk, and Mark Hamill was there. It was awesome. Met my Joker at the DMV.
Did I just hear that cat say something?
No, just playing with his balls.
I'm there.
Oh,
That's it.
Oh, that cat. That cat was put away. I thought Kirby's cat jumped in the screen or something. So.
Yeah. So anyways, that's the quick speed up review of Joker 80th Anniversary. It's a fun read. Pick it up.
Good. Then whatever titles you have, Kirby.
You got Spider-Man: The Lost Years from 1995. For several years, Ben Reilly, now the Amazing Spider-Man, wandered across America, trying to find a place for himself. Convinced that he was doomed to live a lonely, bleak existence for the rest of his days, but that was before he arrived in Salt Lake City and found himself caught up in a series of events that would change his life forever. With new surroundings, a new job, and a possible new romance, Ben is finally on the verge of creating a real life for himself, something he never dreamed was possible. Little does he know that the growing threat of a local organized crime syndicate and the sudden appearance of Kane, the first flawed clone of Peter Parker, now consumed by hatred for Riley, will jeopardize the peace and happiness that Ben has struggled so hard to achieve. The acclaimed chronicle of Spider-Man's hidden past by top talents J.M. DeMatteis, John Romita Jr., and Klaus Johnson is finally collected in one volume, an invaluable addition to any comic collector's library. I'm not a huge fan of the style artwork. It's just the more savage style artwork.
Thank you. I thought I was the only one who doesn't like John Romita Jr.'s artwork. I actually really can't stand his artwork, as popular as he is. But again, that's just my personal opinion.
So many times deciding between the two characters, which one's Peter Parker, which one's the other clone. But yeah, it's rough work to get through, but it's a good storyline. Peter Parker thinks he's a clone. Doesn't know he actually isn't, and he's got the other clone hunting him down. It's a good story with the spotty artwork, but yeah, it's nothing you really need for a Spider-Man story. It's kind of a whole off-branch, oddball, more like a Elseworld style story, but if you like Spider-Man, it's something you might be into. And then we went to another 3 comic book run from 1996, Ultra Girl. I knew nothing about this character. It gives her, she's basically a lone sentinel, is just out in the middle of nowhere, and she comes across it, finds her at a photo shoot, and he classifies her as a mutant. She's trying to get into like the fashion industry, movie industry, get her fame and fortune. Has no idea that she has mutant abilities or anything. She finds out through the Sentinel that she has Kree genetics, and she thought she was normal, but her body keeps growing and she keeps getting different powers. She wants the fame from the modeling in the movies, but her new body is outgrowing society's requirements because no one wanted. That's back when you had to be a certain weight, and they told her go off, lose some weight, come back next year, try again. She stumbles across her powers and takes on a Sentinel and ends up getting fame and fortune that way because all the news people and the people around are all cheering her on because she destroyed the Sentinel, and then she basically wipes out the whole Sentinel's body but keeps the head and the voice box so she can go and talk to it and keep learning more and more and more from, which is a fun little thing that she does throughout the story. She starts on fire at one point, and then her whole body heals. She learns now that she can go through flame and it doesn't affect her after that. So I'm assuming every time she has something happen to her, her powers will generate further and further. But this just gives her a few basic powers in here. She gets the flame ability, the ability not to burn. She gets some flight ability and stuff like that. Her superhuman strength is just beyond what I've seen with a lot of other characters. So I'm kind of curious what her overall strength will end up at compared to people like Superman and stuff like that. But this is definitely was a surprise character to me. I definitely want to learn more about her. But yeah, I suppose the artwork's just her basic artwork. Like she picks up a truck and wants to put out a fire, so she steals someone's pickup truck and uses it as a scoop to just scoop up sand and dump it on the fire and stuff like that. It just tries all kinds of things to help out and ends up working out pretty decent in the end. But yeah, she meets some other Kree people that apparently are Kree-based but have our looks, the human look. So yeah, it's just an advanced version of the Kree.
And was that a Chasing Amy ad on the back that I kept seeing?
Yeah, good possibility. Yep.
Looks like Joy Lauren Adams, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then the final one we got here is Wolverine Blood Hungry. Glasses for this one. The island of Madripoor, here anything goes, and everything is for sale. A cesspool with style, and somewhere in the cesspool, something suddenly seems wrong. A scent has entered the air, and the enigmatic X-Man known as Wolverine can almost taste it. A scent just beyond memory. There's a new player in town, Cyber, a psionically powered psychopath who once left Logan for dead. Wolverine's worst nightmare come to life. Now Cyber pits crime lord against crime lord. Tiger, I guess that's how you say it. Tiger one spelled as tiger and then Tigger. But Logan's lover and General Coy, her less refined rival. The prize, the world's most powerful drug, a substance so potent its smell alone is enough to induce addiction. A hallucinogen that distorts your past and alters your present and future. Cyber possesses it in abundance, but he wants more. To unseat Tiger and Coy, and usurp their criminal cartels, and to finish a fight he thought long since over. It's the man with the adamantium-laced skeleton versus the man with the adamantium-laced epidermis. And Madripoor may not be big enough for the both of them. Writer Peter David and artist Sam Keith tell a twisted tale of bloodlust and betrayal, originally serialized in Marvel Comics, presents number 85 to 92. This one, too, I had a lot of problems with the artwork. It's shoddy artwork. And if you look here, this is a flashback story of Logan back, I'm assuming, in high school. But he looks like a 40-year-old hairy man. It's like, I don't know what they're going with there because he's chasing after the younger girls. And then Cyber's got Wolverine's got his cute little car, and Cyber's got the giant Wienermobile with one girl in it that he's taking off and running off with, and Logan's mad about that while he's talking to another girl, setting up a date with another girl. So I don't know how he ends up with issues with him taking her. But Cyber was an interesting character. Never heard of him before. I like that his whole body's adamantium laced, his skin. His other power, I don't know if he has any real other powers. All I've seen from him other than that is just his strength. But Wolverine was very afraid of this guy, and messed with his mind quite a bit because he got his butt whooped by him once before. And basically, I don't know if he's got weaker healing factors in here or what, but like when Cyber slices his guts open and stuff, he takes a long time to heal.
Maybe just with the adamantium attack, that probably.
Yeah, it might have had something to do with that. It's just, but it was a good storyline. Very interesting. Learned a lot of new stuff from here for Wolverine and stuff. But yeah, let's check it out.
All right.
And my final outrun for it was Marvel beats DC, but they both had their issues throughout. Just a slight nudge ahead. And of course, all these books again are for sale at kevintheduckpool@gmail.com if you are interested.
Always a salesman.
All right. David, with it being a D&D week and you are in a different location, do the rules still apply on your 6 o'clock?
No, we can go a little past. That's
So we'll
fine.
do our letters page and then we can wrap it up.
Yeah,
we can probably pump it out pretty quick.
Okay. Then let's move on to the letters page. All right. Get that saved. Okay. Recording. Here we go. Welcome to the letters page, everybody. We are going to discuss a question, give some answers, go around the internet. This week's question is, you have to recast your favorite show with comic book characters. Who would be who? So, I went with Buffy the Vampire Slayer being my all-time favorite show. I'm sorry, Damon, for taking your answer ahead of time. I was thinking about letting you go, but I'm going to get in.
But he's recasting everyone with Sarah Michelle Gellar, not recasting Buffy, but casting all the other characters as, with Sarah Michelle Gellar playing all the characters.
I had two different routes. I was thinking of going comedical by casting the Buffy television show with the comic book versions of those characters from Dark Horse Comics. But then I decided to take a double stab at Damon by, great background, by the way, a double stab by, instead of plucking people from the Marvel Universe and the DC Universe and over here and over there, I thought I could actually cast it with the Archie characters. So this is who we have here. For Buffy the Vampire Slayer, playing Xander, Jughead Jones. Playing Willow, we're going to use Sabrina Spellman. Oz is going to be Archie Andrews. Cordelia is clearly Veronica Lodge. Giles, he was a tougher one, and I figured, there's not a library that the Archie gang's going to go meet at, but they always go meet at Pop Tate's Chocolate Shop. So Pop Tate's going to be the Giles, the watcher of this version. And last but not least, cast as Buffy Summers, Betty Cooper. So, yeah, I think that's actually a pretty accurate casting that I could see done in a crossover if they would ever cross over with Boom at all. So there we go. Those are Buffy characters from the show recast as Archie Comics. Damon, what's your answer?
I went, one of my favorite shows from the 80s was Married with Children.
Awesome.
In fact, my wife has never seen them, so we're actually on season 6 right now. We're binging them on Hulu, so she can see what is Married with Children. So to recast them, I got a good answer for all of them except Al. Al, I narrowed it down to 2, and they're slightly different. For Al Bundy, I went with my first option was Aquaman, because I'm reading the New 52 Aquaman by Jeff Johns, and he's kind of the outcast. Everyone makes fun of him. He doesn't get any respect. Some things go right, but for the most part, everyone thinks he's a joke, which is kind of what people think about Al. The other one would be Raphael from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because, he's also the outcast, has issues, people treat him badly, And so those were my two picks for Al. For Peg Bundy, I went with Golden Gale Gibbons. For those that don't know who she is one of the superheroes in the Black Hammer series. She's the little girl that's actually a 60-year-old. I went with her because her attitude is Peg Bundy all the way. You know, she don't take no lip. She's got a lot of spice and fire. So I went with her for Peg Bundy. For Kelly, I went with Zombie Tramp. Because she's a good-looking ditz. Enough said. There's a lot of similarities between Zombie Tramp and Kelly. And for Bud, I went with someone who's short, has attitude, is always trying to get with the gals. Anthony knows who it is, but it's going to be Howard the Duck. And that is my cast for Married with Children.
That was pretty good. That's that's pretty entertaining. All right, David.
You know, I have no idea. I can't. I'm like racking my brains out here, and I'm like, boy, favorite show. What do I pick? And then I got to recast them, and God, I really don't know what to pick for that answer. That's one of them that I should have done some homework on and like really thought about what I wanted to do for an answer. In just a little bit of time that we've had here to think about it, I didn't come prepared to class today. So.
Well, feel free to come back next week if you want to take a week to stir up.
Okay, give me a week and I might have an answer.
All right, Kirby.
What was yours earlier?
I said Supernatural and Scooby-Doo.
Oh yeah, she said swap Supernatural characters with Scooby-Doo characters. Or yeah, Supernatural isn't a comic anyways. All right, well, what I went with was Z Nation. I love that show, and I picked the top 6 characters from the show. Roberta Warren, I'd replace with Purgatory, because they're both little attitude women. You got Addie, which carries around her nice little metal, fancy made-up baseball bat with the spikes that she has custom made. I'd have to replace her with Harley Quinn.
Nice.
Murphy, he's the zombified character that's kind of just going around trying to make the world the way he wants. So I figured that would be the Collector. And then Citizen Z, he's sitting alone in his own little shack there waiting for everybody to find him. I kind of wanted to go Rocket and Groot because he's got that little dog that hangs out with him, so you could have Groot with the little rocket character running around. But I thought about it for a while, and it's like, I got to kind of go Howard the Duck, because he'd be sitting there kicking back by himself away from all the humans, and he could do that, or it could be Howard the Duck Pool, and because it's like Deadpool would be perfectly alone himself too with all his little toys. And then for Doc, I was thinking, first thought was Marijuana Man from the Marijuana comics, because Doc's always running around with his little weed joints running around. But I figured Dr. Psycho would work out perfect from Wonder Woman, because he can project illusions on people and stuff like that. And then 10K, if you know him at all, he's the sniper from the show. So I figured Deadshot is the perfect one for that. So.
Yeah, I think we got to give it up to Howard's agent for locking in these 2 different network deals here.
He's going to get in the movies somehow, damn it.
Excellent. Katie.
Okay, so my favorite TV show at the moment is The Mandalorian. So here's what I have come up with. So to replace Mando, I have Batman. To replace the child, I have Baby Groot. To play Cara Dune, I have the Black Widow. Cowl the Ugnaught is going to get played by the Watcher. Grief Karga was honestly the hardest one to cast, just because I feel like Carl Weathers nailed his performance. But if I were casting him, I wanted to go with someone who's kind of like a frenemy, where they're kind of bad, but sometimes they're on your side. So I said Loki or the Wolverine. For IG-11, I'm recasting as Deadpool. The Armorer is getting recast as Red Sonja, and the Client, who's the Imperial bad guy played by Werner Herzog, I am casting as Lex Luthor.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a pretty good lineup there. Now, I kind of want to do fan art with Batman and Baby Groot. So.
Well, my other choice to recast was SpongeBob, but yeah, Batman and Baby Groot just feels good inside.
Oh, well. All right, I would watch all of those shows.
Yeah, they all sound interesting to me.
And David, maybe I'll watch yours next week.
Well, we'll see. I was trying to come up with a show, and Ethan was standing right here, so I just went, Ethan, what's your favorite TV show? And he'd answered right before Katie, which was funny because it was Star Wars related, and he said probably Star Wars Rebels, and so right away I'm like, who would we recast that with? And there's too many characters to like come up with instant answers, but I started just thinking of like, okay, who would you put in there as various, characters, and then how would you work it out? So I would still need time to do every character, but something that just kind of came to mind would have been like I think the Thing from the Fantastic Four would make a good Zeb, and just trying to think like who's there's a few choices, so I'd have to narrow it down, as far as kids and stuff like that, characters and whatever. But I don't know. You at least got me thinking now. So.
All right. I think that will do it for this issue of the podcast then. We'll return next week with a club discussion for Batman Adventures #1. So that'll be on the horizon. We have a wrap-up of Spider-Ham in the near future. We have more Wonder Woman Dead Earth, so as comics are starting to come out, some of these club picks are starting to show up again. The one club pick that's going to be a little more delayed, but we do have a confirmation, so it's a follow-up from last week's that I think I said in the comic club airing, that the X-Ray Robot will actually come out in single issues, because in the upcoming catalog, the July catalog for September releases, X-Ray Robot #2 is resolicited in there. So we'll have September, October, November for that wrap-up. So the single issues will show up. So, yep, that's good news on that front. So that will do it for this issue. This entire time, I've been gazing into the baleful orifices of Dormammu.
I've been sitting here trying not to be blown away by a tornado.
I've been recasted by a comic book character nobody cares about.
As they say, crime is never pay.
I am SpongeBob SquarePants, played by Peter Parker.
To be continued.